The diner smelled like burnt coffee and fried eggs, the kind of scent that clung to your clothes and hair long after you left. Lily Evans had been on her feet since 6 a.m., running on 3 hours of sleep and a growing migraine. The bills on her kitchen counter were stacked higher than her tips, and every customer seemed to be in a worse mood than the last. Then, the man at table 9 decided to scream at her over cold toast. "I asked for this to be lightly buttered," he snapped, waving a slice of bread in her face as if she'd personally offended him. "What kind of service is this?" I'm sorry, sir. Let me fix that for you." Lily's voice wavered, but she forced a polite smile. The man scoffed and rolled his eyes. "Forget it. Some people actually know how to do their jobs." Lily swallowed hard as she walked away. She wanted to cry, but she'd promised herself she wouldn't. Not at work, not in front of people who thought waitresses were invisible. She just had to make it through the shift. The lunch rush didn't make things any easier. Orders kept piling up, and the new cook in the kitchen kept messing up, meaning more angry customers and fewer tips. At one point, a mother with 2 toddlers refused to pay for her meal because her kids didn't like it. Another customer left without tipping after she ran to get their ketchup and didn't return in 5 seconds flat. By the time late afternoon rolled around, Lily felt like a ghost, drifting, exhausted, unseen. And then he walked in. She almost didn't recognize him at first. He was taller than she'd remembered, with a quiet kind of confidence in the way he carried himself. The last name was enough to make people stop and stare, but he didn't act like he wanted the attention. Dressed in a simple navy sweater and jeans, Barron Trump slid into a corner booth, pulling out a book as if he had all the time in the world. Lily took a deep breath and approached his table, her notepad ready. "Hi there, what can I get you?" He looked up and smiled. Not the forced kind, but a real, warm smile. "Hi, just a coffee, please." She nodded, grateful for the easy order, and rushed to pour a fresh cup. When she brought it back, she expected him to go back to his book. Instead, he set it down and looked at her. "Are you okay?" The question caught her off guard. No one had asked her that all day. She hesitated before forcing another smile. "Yeah, just a long shift." Barron nodded, as if he understood more than he let on. "Thank you for what you do." "People don't say that enough?" Lily blinked. Kind words were rare in her line of work. She mumbled a "thank you" and hurried off, pretending she wasn't blinking back tears. She didn't know that by the time he left, he'd change everything. Lily tried to shake off the strange feeling Barron's words had left her with. It was just a simple thank you, nothing extraordinary, and yet it felt different, genuine. Most customers barely looked at her, let alone acknowledged how hard she worked. As the hours dragged on, the weight of the day pressed heavier on her shoulders. A family of 6 left crumbs and ketchup smeared all over their table with a measly $2 tip. A businessman barely glanced up from his phone as he snapped for the check. The new cook burned yet another order, forcing her to apologize to an irate couple who acted like she had personally ruined their evening. Still, through it all, Barron sat quietly in his corner booth, sipping his coffee and flipping through his book. He didn't demand attention, didn't act entitled like so many others who came in wearing expensive watches and designer shoes. He simply existed in a way that didn't make Lily feel small. When she passed by to check on him, he looked up and gave another one of those rare, real smiles. "The coffee's great, by the way." Lily let out a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. "Glad to hear it. Busy day?" he asked, his voice calm, conversational. She let out a dry laugh. "You could say that." Barron tilted his head slightly, studying her in a way that wasn't prying, just understanding. "People can be rough," he said. "I don't get why it's so hard for some of them to be decent." Lily blinked. It was such a simple statement, but it carried weight. He got it. "Yeah," she said, suddenly feeling a lump in her throat. "They really can." A group of rowdy teenagers walked in, breaking the quiet moment. Lily sighed and moved to take their order, bracing herself for more complaints, more impatience, more exhaustion. By the time she turned back to Barron's table, he was gone. For a split second, disappointment flickered through her chest. She hadn't expected anything, but something about his presence had made the day a little less awful. Then she saw the folded napkin on the table. Her breath caught as she reached for it. Inside was a note, written in neat, careful handwriting. "Kindness doesn't go unnoticed. You matter. Keep going." Her hands shook slightly as she unfolded the receipt tucked inside. Her eyes widened. A $10,000 tip. Lily's heart slammed against her ribs. Her knees felt weak. For a second, she thought she was seeing things. That exhaustion had finally made her start hallucinating. But no, the number was real. The ink on the receipt was real. And at the bottom, in the same steady handwriting, was one last line. "This isn't charity, it's justice. You deserve this." Lily covered her mouth with her hand as tears welled in her eyes. For the first time in a long time, she felt seen. Lily sat down in the empty booth before her legs could give out. The world around her blurred as she stared at the receipt, her fingers gripping the edges like it might disappear if she let go. $10,000, more than 6 months' worth of rent, enough to pay off her overdue bills, fix her car, and finally breathe for the first time in years. Her throat tightened. This kind of thing didn't happen to people like her. "Lily?" She barely registered her manager, Tom, standing over her, his brows knitted in concern. She looked up at him, still dazed, and wordlessly handed over the receipt and napkin. Tom whistled low. "Damn, that's real?" She nodded slowly. His expression shifted between disbelief and something else, something softer. "That kid?" He shook his head, letting out a breath. "I knew he looked familiar." Lily swallowed. He didn't act like, like a billionaire's kid?" Tom finished with a small smile. "No, I wouldn't expect him to. I read about him somewhere. His mom kept him out of the spotlight as much as she could. Guess she raised him right." Lily traced the words on the napkin with her thumb. "Kindness doesn't go unnoticed." Her eyes burned again. Tom clapped a hand on her shoulder. "I've been in this business a long time, and I've seen a lot of customers treat us like garbage. But every now and then," he nodded at the napkin, "you get someone like that." Lily let out a shaky laugh. "Yeah?" Tom cleared his throat and straightened. "You gonna cash it out?" A small knot of fear twisted in her stomach. It felt too good to be true. Like the moment she tried to use the money, someone would tell her it was all a mistake. "What if—" She hesitated. "What if the restaurant doesn't let me keep it?" Tom's jaw tensed. "If they try to take it, I'll quit myself." Her eyes widened. "You wouldn't—" "Lily, I see how hard you work. You hold this place together. That tip was meant for you." He shook his head. "I won't let anyone steal it." A wave of gratitude washed over her. Tom wasn't just a boss. He was family in the way people who struggled together often became. Lily glanced back at the napkin one more time before carefully folding it and slipping it into her apron. It wasn't just the money, it was what it meant. Justice. For every moment she'd been treated like she was invisible. For every time she had swallowed her pride and accepted mistreatment because she didn't have a choice. For every tear she had wiped away in the break room, knowing she had to go back out and smile. Barron Trump hadn't just given her money. He had reminded her that she was worth something. Lily barely slept that night. She had placed the receipt and napkin on her nightstand, checking it over and over again, afraid that when she woke up, it would all be a dream. But each time she looked, the numbers remained the same. The words remained the same. Justice. She kept hearing that word in her head over and over. Not charity, not luck, justice. By morning, she had made up her mind. After her shift ended the next day, she went straight to the bank. The cashier raised an eyebrow at the receipt, but after a few phone calls, confirmed that the payment had already gone through. $10,000 sat in Lily's account, real and untouched. She let out a shaky breath. The weight that had been pressing on her chest for years suddenly felt a little lighter. With a deep breath, she pulled out her phone and started making a list. First, she'd pay off her overdue rent and bills. Next, she'd finally fix her car so she wouldn't have to rely on the unreliable bus schedule. But as she stared at the remaining balance, something gnawed at her. She could do more. This wasn't just about her. Lily thought about all the other waitresses who had been treated like she had. The single moms working double shifts to feed their kids, the older employees who couldn't afford to retire, the high school students balancing work and school just to help their families get by. She knew what she had to do. That evening, she walked into the diner early for her shift, a new kind of determination settling in her bones. She found Tom in the back, going over receipts with a stressed look on his face. "Hey, boss," she said, leaning against the doorway. He glanced up. "Lily, you okay?" She grinned. "Better than okay. I want to do something." Tom put down the receipts and crossed his arms. "I'm listening." Lily took a deep breath. "I want to share the tip, not all of it," she added quickly, seeing the protest in his eyes, "but enough to help out. I know Carla's been struggling with daycare costs. Jose's been picking up extra shifts to help his parents. And Maria," Tom shook his head, a slow smile spreading across his face. "You're serious?" "As a heart attack." For a moment, he just looked at her, his expression unreadable. Then he chuckled, shaking his head. That kid knew what he was doing. Lily frowned. "What do you mean?" Tom leaned back against the counter, crossing his arms. "You think he just left that for no reason? Barron Trump may have been born into money, but he clearly knows who deserves it. And he was right about you." Lily's cheeks burned, but she held her head high. "Then I want to make sure it goes even further." Tom clapped a hand on her shoulder, his eyes shining with something close to pride. "All right, kid, let's do this." And just like that, a single act of kindness began to ripple outward, changing more lives than Lily ever could have imagined. By the end of the night, the entire staff knew. Lily hadn't expected to make a big deal about it, but word spread like wildfire. Carla, the single mom who worked mornings, burst into tears when Lily handed her an envelope with enough cash to cover 2 months of daycare. Jose, the young busboy, tried to refuse his share, saying he didn't deserve it, but Lily wouldn't take no for an answer. Maria, who had been skipping meals just to send money back to her family, hugged Lily so tight she thought her ribs might crack. "You have no idea what this means," Maria whispered, her voice thick with emotion. Lily squeezed her back. "I think I do." The diner, a place that had always felt like a never-ending cycle of exhaustion and underappreciation, suddenly felt lighter. There were still difficult customers, still rude remarks and bad tips, but now there was something else. Hope. Tom even made an announcement before closing, standing by the counter with a rare, almost smile on his face. "Let it be known," he said, "that justice was served today." And for once, it wasn't just the customers getting what they wanted. Laughter rippled through the room, but underneath it was something more, a shared feeling of triumph. Lily, however, couldn't stop thinking about one thing: Barron Trump. The note, the tip, the way he had seen her when no one else had. She knew she might never see him again, but something inside her told her she had to try. That night, after she got home, she sat on her bed, pulled out her phone, and hesitated. What was she even supposed to say? After a few deep breaths, she typed out a message. To Barron Trump. "I don't know if you'll ever see this, but I had to say thank you. Not just for the tip, but for what you wrote. You didn't just change my life today. You changed all of ours. I wanted you to know that." She stared at the message for a long time before finally pressing send. A part of her doubted he'd ever read it. Maybe someone like him got thousands of messages a day. Maybe he had already forgotten about the waitress from the little diner. But as she set her phone down and curled up under her blanket, something told her this wasn't over. Not yet. Lily didn't expect a response. She told herself that over and over again, trying not to let hope creep in. People like Barron Trump didn't live in the same world she did. He had done his kind deed, left his note, and moved on with his life. And yet, the next afternoon, as she sat on her break, staring at her untouched cup of coffee, her phone buzzed. New message. Barron Trump. Her heart leapt into her throat. Hands shaking, she tapped the notification. "Barron, I'm really glad to hear that. But you deserved it. Every bit of it." Lily let out a breath she didn't even realize she was holding. She hesitated, then typed back. "Lily, you have no idea how much it meant. Most people don't even look at us. They just take, demand, and leave. His reply came almost instantly. "Barron, I see it, and it's not right." Her chest tightened. He got it. He really did. Before she could think of what to say next, another message popped up. "Barron, I didn't do it for attention, but I think people should hear your story, if you're okay with that." Lily's mind raced. Did she want the world to know? Did she want her life to be out there for strangers to see? Then she thought about Carla, about Jose and Maria, about every overworked, underpaid service worker who had ever been humiliated, belittled, or treated like they were nothing. She thought about the note. This isn't charity, it's justice. Lily took a deep breath. Lily, let's do it. What happened next was something she never could have imagined. Barron shared her story. It spread faster than she could keep up with. People from all over the country reached out, some sharing their own experiences, others wanting to help. Donations flooded into the diner, not just for her, but for her co-workers. Suddenly, people were talking about fair wages, about respect for service workers, about the things Lily and millions of others had silently endured for too long, and all because one person had chosen to see her. A few weeks later, as Lily sat in that same corner booth where Barron had left his note, she realized something. Kindness was powerful. Justice was even more powerful. And sometimes, all it took to change a life was one person willing to do the right thing. Have you ever experienced kindness in an unexpected place? Share your story. Let's keep the conversation going.